Welcome to Kolorflow Conversations. I am Uakeisha. This is
Tikisha.
and we welcome you to our show.
Okay.
I'll be saying it all the time
yes,
now.
Show.
Listen, we have a special guest joining us. She is a mother. She is a wife. She is a therapist. She's a sister. She's a daughter. And she's a client of mine that came across, met a couple years ago at church. And we just connected on like a different level. And I just wanted her to join us today. My friends never met her.
No.
And every time we have a guest, I always invite somebody that you've never met
before.
So it'd be like a genuine.
So it's really organic.
It's very organic. It's a very, authentic conversation because she don't know anything about you and you don't know anything about her. So I basically told her your name and that was it.
I don't even think I knew her name until, I don't even think I knew her name.
Until I introduced y'all and said, hey, this is, so-and-so. So, she is going to join in the conversation. So we want y'all to listen in. Again, we don't have no topic. We just gonna flow. So hopefully you all enjoy. Miss Alicia Jackson. So you grew up in church like I did?
Yes.
All your life?
Yes. My mother's water broke on the way to church.
Oh, really?
Yes. No lie.
With you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that.
Yes.
So you was a church baby for real?
Yes.
And when we met at the church where we both formerly attended, you were directing the choir.
Mm-hmm.
She was a choir director.
Yes.
Love music like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything other than gospel?
I used to sing background professionally.
Really? Did you?
Mm-hmm. In a former life, yeah.
Really? I did not. Because I knew you had a beautiful voice, but I didn't know you sang background professionally.
Mm-hmm. I used to. Yeah, that's how me and my husband met. Yeah.
Give us more.
So.
Look at God. I know, really.
Yeah, so he was a photographer. So he would be taking pictures at these events, and then he saw me, and so then he slid into the DM. So that's kind of how
he slid into your DM.
He sure did.
How long you been married?
We've been married 8 years. Been together for 10.
We talk a lot about marriage on our podcast because I've been married. My friend Tikisha hasn't. She has a desire for marriage now. I have if it happened, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're our second guest on this show. And I say on the show. Come on, Lord. Our other guest also had a good marriage as well. Can you share, because I hear you talk about your husband when we get together. And I genuinely feel like, you get some people where you feel like it's not real. They fake it for. I genuinely know you like your husband as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has it always been like that?
I think sometimes it gets hard when, of course, you're going to get on each other's nerves, right? That's just a part of being. I get on my own nerves, right? But at the end of the day, like, the foundation is love, and so, like, the balance of, like, how do you hold the foundation of we're gonna love each other, we're gonna hold on to this commitment, even though we're both doing X, Y, and Z to maybe come at each other. And then what is this behavior about? Because it's usually not about what we think it's about. So I think marriage is very hard. It's very hard. It's very complicated. I want to name both of those things. And at the same time, I think just we try to remember that we are all we have in it, and not go to outside
sources.
Yes. That's the.
And when you say that you're all you have and go to outside sources, do you mean like in all areas? You know how certain things happen and you want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Is that like your best friend that you would, you know what I'm saying? And I know you said you got a best friend, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
like
yeah.
Your go-to that you're comfortable when the first person you think of is something happened. Like, let me tell my husband.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think he is my go-to. Of course, I have like my confidants, but even then, the people that I trust the most are people that I know are holding our marriage.
I love that.
Like, they're holding our marriage as they're listening to me and him. So if I do have a friend where I'm bitten, like, oh, my husband did such and such and really got on my nerves, like, I know that that's my friend who's holding our marriage. Like, she's gonna hear me and not be like, oh, well, like that.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and so I think that's a piece of it. Yes, we are each other, like all we have in our marriage, and using God as the center of it. However, like, if we do need to have our spaces, of course, where we do need to air out our woes, doing that in a space where you know that it's going to be covered.
Yes.
Okay.
And people aren't coming from like their past experiences.
Yes.
Because it can be a challenge. There can be a challenge, and it really can. So,
how do you? Over it being together 10 years though, and I know we talk about seasons of friends that come.
How long were you married? Because I don't know.
12 years.
Okay.
Well, first time. 12 years.
Oh, okay. Okay. Clarification.
12 years.
Yeah.
And when I think about over the 12 years, and you talk about people that had that you will go to with your woes that will keep you covered, I can't honestly name. But I also don't feel like I was in a space spiritually where I was able to discern who will keep me covered.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? So me knowing you, I know you know who to discern to keep you and your husband covered, where it's not going to be they're going to go to their friends and use it as a gossip source or whatever.
Right.
So I didn't have that also because I wasn't where I need to be spiritually. That's important.
Absolutely, because where I was when I started my marriage is not where I am now, for sure. And there's a lot of friends that I had, like close friends, when we first got married that I don't really talk to like that. I think because I did have in my mind, like, I wanted to protect my marriage, and I'm still like discerning what protect my marriage looks like too, because I think at first,
even after all these years,
yes, because I think at first the inner church girl inside of me was like, protect my marriage, like I want to look a certain way, like that.
I think in different stages of your life, protection changes.
Yeah, it does.
The different forms of what is required.
Yeah.
And so if we need to, protecting my marriage now looks like, okay, I'm not going to silence myself if there's something that I need to really talk to about with a confidant, because I don't want anybody to look a certain way, but I am going to talk about it with a trusted person who may even because we have partnerships where we have sat with like husband and wife and talked together, who have like shared experiences that we do. So like doing it in a way where, again, they're covering the union
in prayer and
yes,
in sincere prayer.
Yes, and it's not like once we leave, like,
for
ooh,
growth versus that, girl,
like,
I can't believe that you hear that what they said. Those type of conversations.
Yeah.
It's a difference.
It is. It is a difference.
You know what else I love about you when we met? Your husband already had children, and when I met you, I would have thought that these were children that you birthed yourself because of your love for them. I've never, let me say, not say never. I've seen people love their quote unquote step bonus, but the way you pour, I don't think I've experienced that, and that just shows your love for him as well. But because Tikisha have been previously was like, didn't want anybody with children,
Yeah.
But now that she's kind of changed from that.
Because I was heavy on that. Like, I don't want nobody with no kids.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a woman give me a sit down like that.
I've been FTK for forever, and I got
Yes.
Oh, FTK.
got it.
I got it. Yes.
Right, I knew it exactly. I was like, I know what she means.
Yes.
But now I'm like, I'm open to it.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
Woo, Tikisha.
Because in my mind, I imagine it being difficult
It is.
for all parties involved.
Yes.
Especially with the children getting used to this new person.
Yes. It is. It's still difficult. I think, again, I came in with this like very optimistic energy. Like, I know I'm likable. I know I'm genuine. I know they're going to love me. Like, I knew like that, and it was hard for them, and it still is, I think, at times to understand the love that I have. Because literally when I met them, like, it was like love at first sight. Like, you're mine. And I was very intentional about like meeting them, when I met them, how I met them. Like, I wanted it to be right. Because I was pretty sure about my husband very early on. I was like, I like you. Okay. And I always joked that I would either foster or adopt. That was just kind of something I always had in my mind. So the children, I was like, yeah, this is it.
Can I backtrack? You said you knew early on and that I like you. Did you let him know this, or did you? Oh, okay, period.
The
communication was there. It wasn't that cat and mouse, like, okay.
No.
He wasn't playing games.
No.
He was intentional.
That was one of the things that really drew me to him, because I was like, oh, I don't have to guess.
Guess.
I'm not, because that would happen before dating. Like, I'm like, oh, I have to guess. Do you?
That's
do
happening
you like
a
me?
lot, yeah.
Do
Yes,
you like me?
Yeah.
Women experience that a lot of guessing, wondering what are we doing, what's going on, and
What are we doing, what's going on, and they treat you like you in a relationship, but then it's like, well, I'm not
then
with
you
you.
find out that you're not.
You like, oh.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I remember it was this one guy who I'm like, okay, you're obviously ghosting me at this point. And so he's like, Alicia, that is not what I'm doing. I'm not. I was like, but then I said, just stop.
Yeah.
But there was a time where my husband's daughter was sick, and we would find any type of way just to connect with each other. So I was in rehearsal for a show, backgrounds. He knew where we were, and he just stopped in and gave me like a little stuffed animal and a card. It's like, I gotta go back to my daughter, but I just want you to know. And I was just like,
Yeah, he was showing you. And I think that's what, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot.
No.
So, and you actually, do you think that you being a therapist help you with these situations?
I think this is going to be a controversial answer, but I think it kind of helped and hurt me.
Really?
I can see that.
I think it helped and hurt me. It helped me in the moment of building our relationship, like with my children. I'll say that there's certain things that now as a therapist that I know that I didn't know before. So there's some information I wish I had now that I have now that I didn't back then. But two, because I always had like my therapist hat on, a lot of my stuff that I was feeling throughout the journey was getting missed.
Okay.
So I feel like it was very helpful, but also like I need to take my therapist hat off sometimes and allow to just like be with, right? But I was wanting to be, right? Be whatever they needed.
Did you introduce him to God and the church?
He had he was connected to the church before we met. He kind of like got reintroduced into church. His great aunt actually was a big influence in his life, and he was in a church actually not too far from here, like he went to before coming to the church we all, used to go to.
A lot of, I'm gonna switch the subject a little bit, but we probably gonna end up going back to that, but because I really love your relationship with your husband and your love for family and everything, but I also know we relate a lot with our struggles with the church. That's why I asked you, did you invite him, did you introduce him to God, or did you introduce him to the church? Because I wasn't really aware of how that came together.
Yeah.
But when, like I said early on, when I met you, it was in church. You was directing the choir. And when you meet people in church, it's just pretty much like we the church girls. And I think after COVID, I never really went back. I don't know if that's when you kind of stopped. I don't really remember. But once we started kind of having conversations, I felt like our reasonings was kind of the same. Yeah. And when you last saw me, you told me that you wrote was it a vlog?
I did it on my very short podcast. I wrote a love letter, to the Black church, because I was really in a state of turmoil, Keisha. Like I've been in church my whole life, and so to get in a space then where I'm like feeling anger about going to this building, I'm like, what is going on? Who am I? Like, what's going? Like, this is like, and then this is happening
and
around.
When you say anger, what does that look like to you? Like, what is that?
Oof, like, there would be parts of me saying, like, why are you going? Like, why are you going? What's the point? And then
it wasn't a God thing. It was the church.
Like, why are you going? What's the point? How is this serving you? And so I was like, okay. And I really had to I did research. Like, I when I say I did research, there's a PBS documentary on the Black church. I watched it. I got better understanding on that. Like, just the history of the Black church. I was very political at the beginning, and it was a huge movement, and of course a safe haven and a safe source for our people. And also too, there was a lot of like doctoring of the Bible too. Like, slaves wouldn't get, or enslaved Africans would not get Exodus because they don't want them to be reading about people escaping to freedom, right?
You dipping in something that me and her talk about a lot. That I've never heard you talk about this. Yeah. So I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, and so then they talked about like how after Martin Luther King was assassinated, that the Black church had like identity crisis almost, because he was literally like the leader. And then I think there was like legislation put in place where like political organizing couldn't happen in churches anymore. And then that's when we got all of this like money, like these evangelical kind of thoughts started coming into the Black church of like money, money, money. God's gonna bless you, money, money, money. And that was just like a huge turn off for me. And I noticed, I was like, that's why we're stuck. Like, we don't have, what have we been doing, like, since MLK passed? Like, since he was taken away from us, like, what have we been doing? And the things that I missed about it is definitely the community. Yeah, like, oh my goodness, the community that we had as kids from being connected to the church. It's just like, you can't replace that. But that's even not as strong as it used to be. So I think like that's maybe where some of the like, it's not feeding, it's not doing what it has done. And then plus the church hurt, all the other stuff on top of that. It's like, yeah.
So your letter that you wrote to the Black church was, I haven't read it. You didn't tell me where it was. What was it? Like,
tell us about it.
It was really about just taking accountability. Like, that's the part that I really like. I want the church to take accountability, and not in a way that's like saying we're bad, because I feel like with any organization or anything that's connected to humans, we're just doing what we know to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And at the same time, in doing that, it causes harm sometimes, right? Whether it's teaching things that may put like marginalized people in very precarious situations, like having women okay things in marriages that aren't okay, things like that. Having women be like the backbone of the church because they're serving and all of this, and preaching these ideals of how a wife is supposed to be, how a mother is supposed to be, but not really teaching like a woman about her womanhood. So like I think that some of those things they need to take accountability for. Some of the hate that has come at other groups that we've like shunned for years, and I'm like, we still shunning these people? We still we still doing that? Like 2024. Not saying that time passes, the Bible changes. I think like we have to really take account of like what the word is saying, like who we really believe him to be. So I think that's the piece that I want us to really take accountability instead of blaming people for leaving the church when they've been hurt and saying, well, where's it? I think what is the post that I see all the time? Like people are so focused on church hurt that what about the church help? And I'm like, I get you, but like yes, church hurt is we need to attend to the hurt. Like we do.
I talk a lot on here about transparency in the church, and
wouldn't that be refreshing?
Yeah, transparency, and I try not to say things in a way that's like dogging the church, because I know that's not what God wants us to do, but I believe He has blessed me and my friend to create a platform where it's going to show people that, our real life, everyday situations, it's ways to handle it, and it's in the Bible, and I don't believe that the church is teaching it.
No, remember, I've heard this, and this is when you're offended by your brother, that's the language they use, right? That you're supposed to go to them. I don't think I've ever seen that follow through. And then if you go to them and then then you're supposed to bring in a mediator, right? Like that's like I've never seen that happen.
Yeah, because the pastors get mad if you leave and they talk about you and they don't call and check on you. And is they supposed to? I don't know. Churches I love, they've never tried to like reach out to me, like it's kind of like, well, God gonna bless us with more, right? Yeah, He gonna give us some more.
That's hurt talking too.
Yeah, He gonna give us some more. So not worried about the souls that you lost, even though my soul ain't lost. My soul is more blessed because when I left, I just deep dive into what does God really want from me, and it's not to be like a routine religious individual. God wants me to be a servant of Him, a disciple. We just saw the movie The Forge, and the man was discipling the young man, and he wanted us to bring souls. And it's not about just, I'm tired of being entertained. I say it all the time. I'm tired of being entertained. And we were entertained. We was on the praise team together, me and her. And I think that the people that's in the building, I think that they believe that they're doing right. I believe that they believe that this is what God wants us to do. He wants us to get up every Sunday, go to church every Wednesday, engage, clap when they say, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Come on, 30 more seconds. Praise the Lord, give me your best praise. That's your best praise. Like, I believe that they really believe that. So when me and you started
parts of the church that I don't like, because I don't want to hear the choir. I don't want to do.
You sound like my husband.
I I don't like. It's just like I'm coming in right when I know what time I'm paying attention, so I know like okay, he come around this time, so I'm coming late, so I can be there right when he come out and I can hear the word.
Exactly,
because that's what I want. I don't. Yeah, that ain't for me.
Well, I think if it was...
And then, not to cut you off, sorry, I do that because I lose my train of thought.
No, you go ahead. You good.
So, or that get up, walk around, and talk to my neighbor and say something. I don't want to do that either. Like, I did not come here for that. I came here for you to educate me on what's in the Bible so I can apply this to my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, but that's not for me. And because I didn't grow up in church like you all did, I just attended here and there. And God has been a part of my life my entire life. And as an adult, I did find, and I say all the time, that there's a church home that I really enjoy. And I still followed that same motto and went when I knew when he was coming out. But at one point, because... you know, I have other family members, and including my mother. My mother at one point got real heavy into church, and I joined. So I was going, and I said this to you before when it was just like I was going, but it's just like I'm just there, a body, and I'm invisible. And not that I'm looking for anything, but when you reference it being a community, and it's this, you know, bigger size church, so then I joined a ministry because then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna join a ministry so I can be a part of something. Then it can be where I'm in this community, but I still was invisible even in the ministry. So when we would get together, it was just like I never felt included. You know, I don't know if anyone outside of the lady who ran the ministry knew my name. And I went to the meetings regular. I never, even the day when I signed up, the other people that were already on it or signing up with me, it was never like a, hey, how you doing? Just the lady who ran it. But I still did it until one day I just didn't. And I was just like, yeah, that ain't for me.
Yeah. That's
so that is my side of it, of not growing up in it, where, you know, I have the family members that know, and this is just what I know. This is me coming in trying to join.
Yeah.
And I never felt joined. The one church where I felt joined in was because my family went there. So it was already established relationships.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to establish that on my own ever going visiting churches.
And then now I got the question last week, so you just not gonna ever go no more? And somebody asked me that last week, like, so you just not gonna ever go no more? I was like, I have church every week. I'm in church right now.
Really, we are.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's almost, and I think I asked you on the way here. I saw, it was one place we passed. I said, do you believe that that's a little cultish? You was like, yeah, we kind of, and then I started thinking in my mind that we as the black church becomes a little cultish.
Across the board. Because it becomes where it's judgmental, where you're judging other people and their practices versus being open-minded to see what they're doing. I had a conversation with a young lady, and she grew up like in the Baptist church. She's a Christian, and she was saying like if she were to do any other type of religion, she was just like, is it Buddha? Is that what it is? Buddhism? Or whatever it is. That's what she said, that she was just like, because they just seem so peaceful. And the different conversations. And, you know, I am heavy in, I don't know if Islam is how you say it, or Islam. I always wonder how to say it. But, you know, we always talk about TikTok on here. So I'm heavy on that side of TikTok. And it's so much that I can relate to, even though I don't say Allah.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so for me, I have an open mind where I look at all different religions and pick up and I use what works for me. But I'm still not against to going to the church. But for me personally, I'm never going to be a full-fledged every Sunday committed. That's not my thing. That doesn't work for me. It's never been set up for me. But it doesn't mean that I don't believe in God or that I'm a devil worshiper for certain things that I do because it doesn't agree with what you do. And I am probably more in my Bible now than when I was going to church every Sunday, because then I was going and probably looking then, and I was more in my Bible. You know how it's just like it's the hospital. When I was feeling sick, like the spare tire when she said in the movie today, that's when I was just like, oh my God, I need a spare tire. Let me pull out my Bible. Where now I'm reading something every day and my life is fine. It's not like I'm using it for the crutch.
Right.
You know, I worked on my relationship with God daily and I nurture it. Where sometimes I'll be like, we probably in our word just as much as somebody would say as a pastor, bishop, or whatever you call it.
Every day we discussing some type of scripture or something related to God. Every day.
When you said that, I'm still on the black church is a cult. It's a cultish. I agree. I think even just how it responds to things, like calling it demonic or the devil or spirits or like, you know, I think we just have to kind of open up our mind a little bit more.
Yes.
Even I think I had to even take some of that off of me, or kind of open myself up to it on my own, like, grief journey, like with like connecting with my ancestors, realizing like that honoring my ancestors isn't like worshiping them.
Listen, would you say that again?
I wrote in my blog about that, like honoring my mother is deceased, so I am going to honor her for the rest of my life. Yes. I am not worshiping her. No. She taught me to worship God. Yes. That is what I'm worshiping. But just if I have a table dedicated for her with her picture or whatever, does not mean anything, because when I start out, I'm still praying to God.
Yeah.
And like I said on here, I'll be like, God, tell my mama I love her.
Yes.
Tell her I still love her. I swear he watching the show. Did I just look at the camera like he was watching the show? You watching the show? The good Lord.
That right there. I had this conversation yesterday with my sister because the new movie Deliverance is out. And,
and people are in their feelings.
They in their feelings. I haven't watched it yet because I thought it was a horror movie. My friend watched it. She was like, "No," she explained it to me.
I feel like it's horror.
Yeah.
But the point for me was it's a spiritual warfare.
Yes.
And it had to come through as horror. But when you're in a spiritual warfare, it's horrific.
Yes.
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 So I can see, that's why I was saying, like, I hate to put it as scary movie, but it is, because it's scary movie. Yeah. But when you think of the bigger picture, the message that's trying to be delivered versus going watching Freddy Krueger. I couldn't think of nothing else that quick. Sorry. Freddy was all I had.
That's our generation.
But she and I was talking, and we was talking about things that automatically Christians be judgmental on, and I'm sure watching this, people are going to immediately associate things with that's devil worship, because we were talking about crystals, and she was like, that's witchcraft. I said, is crystals witchcraft, or is when people worship whatever they worship witchcraft? I said, because crystals is just something God created. And I was like, now if you over there praying to the devil over them, then that's devil worship.
Different. Yeah.
My ears is ringing. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to say this. Like, this just hit me right now. Every single tool that we have, we can turn it into something for witchcraft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those automobiles that we use every day to get to where we're going, that can be witchcraft. I can get in my car and be determined today I'm just going to run somebody over. I'm going to get in my car as a drunk driver and consciously drive. These are evil spirits, intentions, and any, you know what I'm saying, where your mind is not in the right place.
Yeah.
Every single thing on this earth, we can use it for something negative.
In a demonic way, if you choose.
If you choose to do that.
Mm-hmm. But when I read, like I told you, I started reading my Bible over from the beginning, and when I be reading about how detailed God was in the things that He created, and I just see like the beauty in like all things now.
Yeah.
Because it just taking me to like a just higher level of consciousness. Like, man, I have taken for granted like the earthly beautiful things that He's created, and the ceremonies and things.
Specific crystals that are referenced by name in the Bible.
Yeah. And I told you, and a lot of times we will trust the doctor with the medicines.
Right.
But we won't trust that,
Your watch might got a quartz crystal in there to keeping it tick-tocking for you to tell the time. But that don't mean that it's witchcraft.
I think, too, because this is how I had to challenge myself. Like the age, especially for people like Keisha and I who grew up in the church, the age in which we got this information, our brains were like very concrete, very black and white.
I love that.
Right? So when like you telling a kid don't touch the stove, that's how they're like, ooh, stove bad, hot, right? But then once you started to grow as an adult and you need to cook with the stove, then you need to have like a nuanced relationship with the stove, right? So I think that too it's to challenge and open up our world to like things that we need to like more than just prayer is great, right? Prayer is great, and also communion with God and worship is all those things can be healing, and there's other tools that God has given us, just like you said, like just being by the water is as like the source that God has given us it can be a huge calming factor and help us like even just calm our nervous system. Right, but so like things like that is so important. But if we still kind of like in that space where we're like, ooh, stove bad, like like ooh, crystal, the devil, like we're not in that space that it's like
we gotta call an analogy because I really like that. I never thought about it that way. Like that,
we gotta open ourselves up just a little bit, not to like completely go like you said like out of control. And I think that's what happens. There's fear, like because there's I think too we get scared like oh hell damnation, right? And it's like oh God is like much more gracious than we give Him credit for,
because He see our heart for real. You know what I'm saying? Like us sitting here now, I believe that He's pleased that we're telling people stop being judgmental, take yourself out of your box where did you think this is the only way I can worship God. That this is the only way you're going to get through to Him. That He wanted us to just surrender and see the beauty in, like my friend love birds. She she see a blue jay. Oh my God, there's a blue jay.
My mommy love birds. She just like, she called me Alicia. Come to the room and see the blue jay.
Yes, like she is like she feeds the birds and she.
When I'm in the car, when I'm riding, I'm looking and seeing them like, they.
Yes, they're beautiful.
Yes, but see, I think that other people that call themselves believers would be like, y'all ain't going to church. Y'all talking about crystals. Y'all going to hell.
Right off the top.
Off the top. Like when I say that when I completely surrendered my life and gave Him to God, like I got baptized years ago. I think I was 10 years old. And we talk about when I don't know how old you were when you get baptized.
Oh, I was 7 or 8.
We didn't have no clear understanding.
See, I was an adult.
They told us to, they gave us the basic. You need to get baptized to be saved. And
I wonder if my mama, I probably was as a kid too, I wonder, but I know I did it, but I don't, so I have to ask.
But for the clarity of, I knew the basics. Jesus died for me. He died for my sins. He rose from the dead. Father Abraham had many sons. I knew the basics. I knew the son. But now when I read and the clarity of how He want me to live my life and how we are supposed to give to the poor and help the needy and, just intentionally, we saw the movie today and it was confirmation for me, forgive. And when you forgive, He basically will release the pressure and the tension off of you from many years of anger or bitterness that you don't even know you have. So when I think about that, I be thinking about, oh, I'm so glad I'm saved for real now. Because you know how many people going to hell through the church? You know what I'm saying? Going to hell through a pastor that's not being for real, being transparent, because what I need to know is when I go, I feel like I'm not going to waste my time and sit here if you're not going to be for real and tell me, and if you intentionally trying to live your life that way too, and tell me that you're struggling too.
I agree with that, but I also feel, because I'm heavy on accountability, I also feel like you need to nurture your relationship when you get home, and it just not be that I went to church on Sunday or I went to Bible class. You really need to nurture it, because once I started nurturing my relationship, that's when it was just like, oh, I'm gonna start feeding the birds. Like, that came out of nowhere. I was never into animals like that. But it's calming for me and relaxing, like how you said, sitting by the water. So, and that's helps center. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's my form of meditation where I'm just sitting there looking at them come and fly away. But that came from me nurturing it on my own. And I feel like a lot of people are just, let me pull out, and it's in school, and say, raise your hand if you're here for attendance. But you have to be accountable too. And if there's no accountability, you don't know. You're just going, you're in attendance, you're doing what the pastor's saying, like you're not opening up your own mind to see what works for you on your own. So that's why when you still go, you still see the parts that you want them to work on and transform and make better. But it doesn't mean that you won't ever go, because like you said, it's a church in a different state, that if it was dropped down here on Sunday, you'd be there. So it's not that, it's just the structure of it. The church needs to be restructured. It cannot be the same as what it was when my mama was going to where I am at now.
No.
My nieces and stuff, even my son, well, I won't say him because he almost 30, so he's a little, but still, like the younger generations, we don't even live in that same world. So you need to figure out a way to tap in onto today's society and the changes that have. It can't be that we going in, we singing the hymns, you preaching, re-releasing, and we come back and we repeat.
No.
Life stories ain't even the same as what they used to be. Just like inflation is rising, the church needs to rise up.
Come on. You better preach.
This mic on? No, and when you said earlier too, Keisha, like people ask you, so you just ain't gonna never come back. I think there's a part of me that really would love to attend a church that was decolonized, right? That was coming from a space of like preaching and like respecting our autonomy and what that looks like, and and even incorporating mental health, right, and the word, and what walking in our own like presence as a person.
Yes, our individualism, because we all
bring it.
Something different.
Yeah, so I like right, and I found a church in Harlem that I was like, ooh, and I was watching for a minute. I was like, okay, this might be the jam, because I think if there was happening, yes, I would. But if I'm in a space where I feel like I'm, like you said, in a time warp machine where they like trying to preach to millennials, and I'm like, I'm millennial, I'm 41 years old. What about my kids, Gen Z?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What are we trying to preach to millennials at this point? Like it's we're too far gone, and I think too we have to have a conversation about, even like this is the word of God. However, this is the word of God that's been translated through many hands. many hands, and not all of those hands were meant to do all people good, right?
Yes.
So like that is a conversation, and so how can we look at the Bible in a way that's still like honoring what God, who He is, and the center of who He is, and at the same time to like honor ourselves.
Ourselves.
As well.
That's my thing. I am intentional now. I'm intentional about every day waking up. How am I going to serve God today? How am I going to make myself better in serving God? I got to put on the whole armor every day because a different attack gonna come to you. And when you become more aware, you prepare yourself for the attacks. I'm sure that people like close to me or people just used to, seeing me go out and have fun, or my conversation is gradually changing for people. God is bringing people into my life that we have a camaraderie with this conversation, because I don't really have no interest in nothing else. Honestly, I still feel like I'm fun, but you could be fun and still be in God, and I'm just learning that in my 48 years. Because I thought the fun was, girl, let's go have some drinks, and what you doing? You ain't got the kids this weekend? Come on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now, I think I told her a couple weeks ago, I was like, girl, I can't wait to get in my bed and just read a scripture. Because
we had spent the day together. Remember, I was like, this is when we could have had our little girl time. On your mom's birthday.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, well, dang.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, when I go home, I'm about to sit outside in the backyard with my Bible and my birds.
And that's what we enjoy now. And it's like, people will probably think it's weird. My mom's birthday was Saturday, and she asked me last week, because she knew I was going to go to the cemetery and take some flowers. She was like, you mind if I go to the cemetery with y'all? It's been 3 years. She never asked me
Never
that.
asked.
Never. I was like, yeah, you come. So we went. Girl, we walked through the grass barefoot.
Yeah, it's grounding.
It was like, but even that, people make jokes about you go put your feet in grass and you're hugging trees. Yes, because it's all God's creation. If it makes you feel peaceful, then do that. It was a waterfall. It's like a park. And she was like, it's so peaceful out here. I was like, yeah, this is what I come do. I come sit right here. And, we sat there probably about an hour or so. And, I mean, just even after I came home, I just felt cleansed, freeing.
Yeah,
good. I wasn't sad. It was it's like a new release, and I'm moving away from being judgmental.
Yeah.
I am moving away from gossip conversation.
Yes.
I am moving away from, and this is all things that I'm learning as I'm reading the Bible, and I've been in church all my life, and it never convicted me to stop it before.
Yeah.
And I feel like it starts, and I am again not trying to dog the head, but it starts at the top, because I've been at a church where you heard a sermon, then you go in the pastor's office, and then they're gossiping or talking about members and this and that, and all they care about is the offering, how much we raise, and we about to do this, I am moving away from that. I have no interest in that at all. I've learned that my tithes, it does not have to be financially 10% of my earnings. That it could be my time that I give to the needy or the poor. But they ain't talking about that. They just talking about, will a man rob God if you ain't giving your tithe?
Well, you saw like a very prominent pastor. He repented for preaching on tithes the way he was because it wasn't biblically correct. And how that is being used in this, I think too, for us, because our people we have like this superstitious nature because of the things we've gone through, right? And racism, systemic racism. It's like, okay, well, anything we could do to kind of like, okay, nope, don't come in my house with your feet, your shoes on, all that stuff we do. So I think sometimes even tithing was kind of used as a way to be superstitious.
I never thought about that it became like a tradition type thing that we were doing that's been passed down, that
keep
was
the blessings flowing in,
right? Yes, in that particular way, and it couldn't be any other way. That's a very good point. I never thought about that. I see that.
Yeah, because we think about a superstition we have of like New Year's cooking,
having the
eyed peas, the greens.
If you sweep the broom, people will spit on it. If you sweep it over the feet, all of these things, yes. And I grew up with all of those things, and I never thought about that with the tithing.
And all of that is like very specific. So like the New Year's thing, in the times when we were enslaved, that was a very difficult time for those who weren't enslaved, because that's when the slave master was like trying to get his monies together, so the families would get torn apart, they would get enslaved, and so they would cook that to try to make sure like the family stay together, as a way to like, okay, well maybe if we cook these black eyed peas and greens, then maybe this will keep our family together. And so that's something that we do still to this day, right? But I think it's still.
But what's funny about that is we'll cook black eyed peas and greens for luck, and I'll bring in the New Year and all this, but then
I can't pop this on my wrist.
Yes, you can't wear an evil eye bracelet because you a witch. You a witch. That, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. We pick and choose.
Yes, we do.
We do.
What
what's considered acceptable through Christ.
Yes. Like, are you making black eyed peas an idol? Are you making the greens an idol?
No.
Because you think you cooking that to bring in the new year? You realize that's worshiping an idol God. But we'll pick and choose that and say we can do this because, and if you want to do that, then do it. But you can't pick and choose. You can cook it and say, I'm believing God is going to make me have a good year.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is going to make me have a good year. Like, and I don't think that Christians people who say they are believers notice that. Go ahead.
No, I think, there is sometimes, or I'll speak from my experience, that I've heard a lot of just like Bible, right? Like any other resource, it's below. And so like getting information about, like we were talking about, like Palo Santo, right? Or any other practice that can be beneficial to us, it's like, oh, if this is contrary to what's in the Bible, then there's like this kind of tug of war internally, and that is there's a journey. So like I've even had to, and I'm still on it. I have to be.
We all are, girl. We all on the
gracious,
journey.
like gracious with people who are still like fearful, and or still loyal to maybe an institution or a church that isn't really feeding them, or is still like preaching things that are keeping them in spaces that are like holding them back. Right? So like, and it's hard to be gracious to people in that, because one, it can be really triggering for me, because I'm like really trying to not, like, I don't want to be in a space where I'm like
judging them,
or like judge, or just even me, like I don't want to be in a space where I'm hearing the word and it's not conflicting with like what I'm feeling in my my relationship with God, and I'm like, okay. But if somebody else is like, oh, didn't Pastor preach today, and I'm like, yeah. He sure did.
We're about to be at 55 minutes.
Man, this guy, I don't even want to stop, because I'm just like, I am enjoying. And again, we've talked when she come in, but we've talked in general, little things, family, and our grief journeys and things like that. But to go in depth the way we did today, like, we're gonna have you back, cause I'm like, this was and then I always, Tikisha always laugh because I try to be politically correct, because I don't want to offend people that's watching, because it's hard. I know it's hard to step away from something that has become a routine for you in your life, and moving away from judgment of others. Like, you can do whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever you do, and if you feel like that's bringing you closer to God, continue to do that.
Yeah.
But we have to stop, get out of the box of believing that if somebody does not do what you do, that they are wrong.
Yeah.
And that if somebody do something in a different way,
In a different way,
then
yes.
they are wrong. Because the way that God makes me, I told her, the way God makes me feel and bless me, and it has nothing to do with financial or anything. It's just such a freeing feeling. Just a feeling of, man, I know he got me.
Mm-hmm.
I know he covered me.
Yes.
I know he got his angels really, like, I was listening to the Richard Smallwood song, I know angels watching. No, I'm listening to Tikisha. I said, but people will get mad if you talk about angel numbers. They'll say you are, but when I see something, I'm like, thank you, Lord. You just reminded me to thank you in the middle of this day that I'm busy going about my day, and it just reminds me to stop and give you praise for real. Not somebody gotta pump me to do it.
Yeah.
That I could just
from
stop.
A real authentic
it's coming
place.
from an authentic place that I could be in my car or, just walking in the Walmart and I see something like,
What if you went to a church, right, and you walked in, a worship leader came and said, like, you know what, y'all, I'm so broken, I don't feel like praising God today. Like, what if so real, like so authentic, like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going to, like, I just need to be real with y'all. This is how I'm feeling right now. And like, let's pray. Let's just pray. Like, what would happen? What would happen instead
if they didn't entertain you that Sunday?
If they didn't entertain me, if they didn't try to push and prod and try to do something that wasn't authentic to how they were really feeling, but just to be like, y'all, I'm going through it, and let's sing this song till we get there, right?
Yeah.
Let's who's feeling this way with me? Anybody, and see what could church,
the outcome
what could church be like if it's
authentic? What if it wasn't a program that we follow every Sunday? What if it wasn't a order of service? What if it was just coming here and just start worshiping God?
Just a flow.
Just a flow. And however, the Spirit flowed. Because if you're doing it really authentically in the Spirit, it's going to be done in decent and in order. Because that's what people are going to say. Like, there's no order. But if you really, really just flowed, and then a pastor come and give a message that coincides with that flow, that's church. That's church. That's what I've been reading. I'm like, man, the people just worship God. David just danced, and
he did
what the Spirit led
heart.
him to do on his heart.
Yeah.
And when they left there, they felt freeing, and that church you just described, I can get with that.
I'm like, oh, you didn't feel, I didn't really feel like coming here today either.
I can get with that.
So I'm like, that's what we're gonna sing. like, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Alicia.
And I'ma still sit back and be like, well, y'all text me when the singing
when the singing over.
Like, all right,
Come on, when the singing over. But to just go in and pray.
Yeah.
And churches have prayer services but I'm talking about the church is just open. You just go in and you could just, the most holy, because the sanctuary is not even treated as the most holy place right now for worship.
Let me say this, and I know we closing, but it's like a part in the movie of Deliverance where by now it's the demon in the house and they know that, but she goes to her church and the mom had been faithful, now at this point and had gave her life to God, and she went and she told him, and the lady was just like, you got to find a different church because we don't handle that. Like that ain't what we do. It wasn't like, well, have you read scripture? Have you tried to talk to it? You know what I'm saying? Like she was not given any tools to use to fight this demon.
And that's why.
And the way I interpret it, I think of day-to-day life things that we are fighting. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. Because in the movie it's the evil spirit taking over the bodies and doing it, and they're literally doing things, but I just think of how we experience people in our life that we know are going through something, and it's just like they just got an evil spirit on them. Mm-hmm. How do I handle this in my day-to-day life? Okay.
And that is what I'm striving to help people do. Mm-hmm. That's discipleship.
Yeah.
How do I bring them out of that? Mm-hmm. And I probably can't do it alone, but that's what the church needs to realize is it's people that's in here that's heavy, that's feeling heavy, and you giving them some hook lines and you know, and I don't care how quiet you get it, that now who needs to bring their life to God. I don't care how you get to that point, if you're not authentic in it, and you ain't got to make it sound good, and the musician playing the right song it ain't got to be no music. Just how do you get the people that's feeling that spirit on them for real? How you get them? You know, that's a lot. They're losing more people now. That's not calling themselves like me. I say I'm a believer. I'm more spiritual than religious. They're losing people to spirituality, which they don't like, because they'll say spirituality is not, you know. But if you're connected to God, you're spiritual.
We're spiritual beings.
We're spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're spiritual beings. So, you know, I'm hoping somebody is helped.
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody is healed. I'm hoping somebody, you know, is really delivered from this message. And it's not to dog the church. I'm hoping that it helps the church to see that they need to do more. They need to do more to really win souls and not bodies, not attendance, not numbers. It's really time to win souls to Christ.
Prepare us for the war.
That part, you know, prepare us for it. So we thank you, Alicia, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, girl, your hair's so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Thank you for flowing with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, we want y'all to like, listen, subscribe, share. You know, tell a friend. Tell us in the comments what you think, even if you don't agree.
Yes. Please. Yes. Please disagree, because that's real.
Yeah. She said please disagree. Look, tell us in the comments what you think, and we will see you all next week.